In this great pause between all of the headlines and the hurry, let me invite you that nothing needs to make sense. For these few moments, just relax, that you can be here and you don't have to draw any conclusions for this hour. Take no quick reactions. They are not required. No fully formed analysis and answer. No sense of what to do next, but rather, for this time, instead, simply remember only your breath. Remember your belonging on this blue-green globe. And know, if most everything feels like a mess, you are not wrong, and you are not alone. We come here to sort it out, to untangle together the grief and the gratitude, the birthdays and the beatitudes, the breaking points and the beginning again and again and again. We come to practice forgiveness and joy and to reclaim humanity beyond hashtags and comment sections, to stumble and to struggle, to sing and to strive, to wake up ready and alive for this new day, this light and this life, which offers itself to us all as an unearned gift. Come, let us be in this space together. Make it ours together. Make it life coming to life together. We'll invite you to rise in body or spirit, or you could sit down if you want. It's up to you. We are a people of choice, and we invite you to sing our opening song, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Good morning. My name is Mike Coddington, and my partner Ken Wilhelm will be lighting the chalice as I read. This is by Deborah Falk. A chalice lit in our midst is a symbol of our liberal faith, a faith built on the foundations of freedom, reason, and welcome, a faith sustained by acts of kindness and justice, a faith that envisions a world flourishing with equality for all people, a faith that demands the living out of goodness, a faith that requires thoughtfulness, a faith of wholeness. This tiny flame is the symbol of the spark of all this within each of us.
If you could rise in body or spirit. giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning. My name is Amy Brock, and I'm the Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth. And I'm also here to talk about our Soul Matters theme this month for a moment. It is generosity, which means things that we give or things that we experience being given by other people. So while our young or young at heart are finding their way to the rug, I invite you to think about a way that you experience generosity or gifts here in this space together.
All right, bunch of kids here today. Whoa, a whole posse coming up the left-hand side there. Hold on, wait. You can just go ahead and start playing again, Debbie. I think it's going to take a second. There you go. Yeah.
Hi, friends.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, thank you. Good morning. Let's see here. As Unitarian Universalists, we like the fact that we don't all think alike. We often say you need not think alike to love alike. So we place more emphasis on how we can love in the world than our individual beliefs. Though individual beliefs are very important. Each one of you have those as well. And who all here has ever heard of something called the 7 principles? Okay, some of you folks are new, so that might not be a thing that you heard. So the 7 principles are amongst all the different ways we think. Every once in a while, that gets a little frustrating. And so we had to find some way to talk about the things that we agree on. And so the 7 principles are one of the ways that we do that as Unitarian Universalists. And the 7 principles are a part of what we call our living tradition, which we could also just call our tradition, our religion, that keeps on changing over and over and over throughout the years. So it does happen that every 15 years, we look at these principles, these ideas that we gather around, and we look at them and we say, do these still work for today? Do we like what these say? Let's have a conversation. Let's look at what we're gathering around and see if we still agree. It's a lot like, I don't know, say the weather. The weather changes, right? Yes, the weather changes.
And so when the weather changes, sometimes we have to change our clothes a lot of times throughout the day. So I don't know, maybe you put on something that is seasonal, maybe your reindeer ears, depending on what season it is. Or maybe you're at the beach and so you wear your flower lei. Or, I don't know, maybe your hands are really cold so you put on gloves. Or maybe you need a scarf. Or maybe you are a lizard and you need to change colors to fit in with your environment because it's predator season. I don't know. So we have days where we change clothes lots of different times throughout the day or as the seasons change. You might also have a day where you put on something like a vest because you know that the weather's going to change at some point, but you want to just wear the same thing all day. What else might we do?
Let's say, it was cold, but it doesn't mean the sun wasn't out, so it's like super sunshiny, so you might put on your what? Put on your sunglasses, right, just in case.
Yeah. Or maybe it's raining outside, and so you open your umbrella.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Your umbrella's looking a little,
Yeah.
it's a light rain. Maybe
It's
we'll
a
see.
light rain.
Yeah.
It'll work. You know?
And what sometimes happens when it rains? What comes with it? A rainbow after, yeah. But what do you wear when you watch a rainbow? I guess there's any clothes are appropriate for that. What else happens when it rains? Thunder, right? So what if my ears are really sensitive and it's going to thunder? I might put on some ear things just in case.
Or maybe it snows outside, and so you need to put on a hat, keep you warm. But then the snow stops, so you can take the hat off, and then you will feel comfortable again. So
What?
you can take the hat off, and then you'll feel comfortable again.
What?
You could also take your headphones off.
Yes, okay, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, now you can hear. So yeah, we have to change our clothes or our hearing devices sometimes, depending on what's happening outside or inside. And that's kind of what we're doing, like Scott said, with our faith right now. We are exploring how our values fit our needs and how they might not, and how we might want to add things to them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think the grown-ups are going to explore more about that today.
We are.
And we're going to explore more about generosity in RE, but before we go, I think we probably need to say the Children's Covenant. Will you help me? Okay, well, you can show me in a minute. In this place, I am kind. In this place, I am loving. In this place, I am a friend to the earth and all animals and people. In this place, I am loved. And if you have seasonal wear on, you can just wear it to RE and we'll get it there.
Okay, if you would rise in body or spirit and make an arch down the middle aisle, we're going to sing this song, Sing and Rejoice, and the choir, second time through, will model how we do it as a round, okay? Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice. You may take a seat.
Now that the kids are gone, I can tell you what we are really getting into today. Bylaws. Not just any bylaws. Bylaws Article 2, Section C, 2.1. Yes. And I got so excited to sing our opening song, because we haven't done that in a long time, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, I forgot to say good morning. And welcome here to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Central Oregon. We are so glad that you're here in this space that we call our spiritual and religious home, with the humility to understand that changes every single Sunday that we gather, given by who comes into this room, the love that we bring into this space, and the ways in which we dream of our future. So we welcome you here, no matter who you are, no matter your life story, no matter who you love, no matter how your resources might fall, no matter your life. No matter your life, because our lives matter deeply. And so we bring them into this space to hold them up against the light with each other and just to see what we might find. Welcome into this space, and welcome Chayla for your announcements.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Chayla Sloper, the Congregational Life Facilitator, and I'm also somebody that if you need a little bit of guidance on how to get involved in the congregation, feel free to contact me at any time. And there are other folks like the Connections team who welcome you at the Connections Corner. And a special welcome to everyone who's gathered today, both here in the sanctuary and, of course, on Zoom. So we continue to have a congregation that extends beyond what we can see. What a mystery. So, yes, I hear that there was a great turnout for the XYZ group last Thursday. So big thanks to those who lit a match and got the fire going again. And I know that we have to use that metaphor judiciously around here. But do mark your calendars, you XYZers, every month on the second Thursday at 7 p.m. XYZ, for those who might be curious, are generally speaking, folks who are younger than me, you don't know my age, but Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials. So boomers, we have to find our own ways to get together. But anyway, and we do. So next Saturday, I'm very excited about the Fall Art Show. So our art resources team has scheduled this time where a lot of the artists and artisans in our congregation will be selling their wares. So that'll be here, weather permitting, possibly a little bit outside, but definitely in the gathering hall from 10 to 4 next week. So do come. There's all sorts of crafted items and jewelry and photography, and it benefits them and the congregation. So this year's Thanksgiving has a lot of opportunities. Firstly, our monthly dinner at Bethlehem Inn falls on Thanksgiving, and we'll be preparing the Thanksgiving meal at the Bethlehem Inn. Typically, the signups are done online, but we do have a sign-up at the kiosk, and the way that we do the Thanksgiving meal is that we prepare the item that we sign up for and then bring it to the Bethlehem Inn before dinner time, and then they combine all the foods. So the sign-up, look for the sign-up at the kiosk. And then also this year, we have one particular home that has ample room at their table if you would like to have a Thanksgiving meal with other congregants. And for those who would like to get together with a lot of congregants, we're going to have our first annual Thanksgiving potluck. And there's a lot of interest in it. And I especially want to invite those who are newer to the congregation, who might feel a little shy, like, well, I don't know anybody. This is how you can meet some people. And we promise to be friendly. And Danny Callan, who is one of our AV people, but he's off today, and you'll hear why a little later, has volunteered to do the turkey. So nobody has to think, do I really want to make a turkey? And those who sign up will figure out who will be bringing what probably this week. Okay, a couple more signups at the kiosk. We will be in the Christmas parade this year. And I want to give a shout out for people in our congregation who were willing to make some good trouble. And we were limited from expressing something about our Unitarian Universalist identity last year. And this year, knowing how to bring constructive criticism and to the right people within the system. After this year, the holiday parade will be a holiday parade. So that is one thing, not a Christmas parade. And not that we are opposed to Christmas, but our community is broader than that. And I want to thank especially Linda Johnson, who knew whom to talk to, she having been on the city council herself. So cheers to Linda and Ann Wyman and others who moved this to bring a little bit of change to our community, to just have a broader representation of who Bend is. So if you would like to walk in the parade, we have a sign up for the walking. So there's been a planning team, the float is going to be designed and worked on. So we just want to know how many people want to show up, and this is on Saturday, December 2nd. Then on the 21st of December, we will have a winter solstice celebration. And if you would like to have a speaking part, you don't have to RSVP if you're going to come. We'll have the chairs set up for lots of folks. But if you would like to have a speaking part, sign up at the kiosk for that. And then there'll be a rehearsal. I think it's the day before or the Sunday before. We'll figure that out. But anyway, there will be a rehearsal, and the solstice will be at 4:30. Okay. The very last thing I want to share is that we have two of our folks in Redmond who are starting a new social group, and the information for that is actually in the ACE, the All Congregation email. So if you're not getting that, do sign up either at the Connections Corner or at the visitor table, and that's a lot to have covered. But this is the season, 'tis the season for lots going on. So thanks for being here, and blessings, warm autumn blessings on this day.
Well announced, Chayla. They applauded your announcements. That's something in the air today. This year, our congregation is interested in wondering about how it is that our love impacts lives, both ours inside these walls and out in the community. It's a project in which we're going to just look at all the beautiful work that this congregation does in our justice work, and in our fellowship of bringing people together, and in our caring, and in our spiritual exploration, all these different places, because the thing is, I have the coolest job in the entire world because I get to see all the things that happen, and we started wondering if everyone else could see that, how amazed we might be to see how much that our love does impact lives. And so until that report comes out, until we do that great inventory and audit of all the things we do, you'll just have to trust me. Our love impacts lives in tremendous ways. We're grateful for that opportunity to come together and to bring that love into the world. We do that, one of the ways we do that is by sharing of our resources to make this place go, to make all those programs and projects happen. So in that spirit, we'll take our morning offering this morning to support the good works of this congregation. We wish there were no war. We wish that there were simply no war, that humans could somehow miraculously figure out how to be together in peace, in security, and in love. But we know that is not the case. We know that there is violence, and there is fear, and there is a sense of scarcity. And so on this Veterans Day weekend, we do give thanks for those individuals, those people who give us a sense of security, who allow us in this country to critique our government, to not always agree, and to strive for what we hope will be the realization of what this country can be. Veterans and soldiers and military, representing something that we hope never would need to be used, and yet it is, and yet it does. So we turn our minds to a vocation, a position that we could maybe never imagine ourselves. Or maybe you are a veteran, and you've seen what that life is. The world is made of people doing things that we could not imagine. Soldiers, farmers, teachers, sanitation workers, healthcare workers, a vast web of people doing jobs, doing work in this world that somehow comes together, provides food on our table, provides roads for us to drive on, parks to walk in, work that we will never see but enjoy every single day. And we turn our minds to our position in this, our small role, what we do in this world. In that spirit, I offer this prayer by Pam Rumancic, a dear friend and colleague. Some people disdain prayer, thinking it asks favors of a graybeard God, begging for fixes or fancies or forgiveness. Such words are for children or those afraid of their own lives. But real prayer demands more of the petitioner than any petitioned. Real prayer is honest, involves breaking past false narratives, blaming, or fear. Real prayer feeds and nourishes and sustains the soul. And so this prayer is offered up. Blessed universe that offers me life and laughter and love, hear my words. I am. I am broken and whole. I am grown up from the richness of the earth. I am the twinkle of a dying star. I am fearful that I am not enough, that there is not enough, not enoughness in this world. I am always longing, yet longing is terrifying. The depths of my heart are unknown to me, like the depths of the ocean, holding fantastical creatures. I know my heart holds so much more in these depths. So much strength. So much compassion. So much tender fear. And so much fierce love. This day, my prayer is for courage to plumb the depths of my own beating heart. Will you take a deep breath with me and think of all that is joyful in your life and breathe out. You take another breath and think of all that might be heavy on your heart and in your mind this morning. You take one more breath and just hold a space of gratitude for all those gifts offered, some asked for and some never imagined, that show up in your life. This congregation shares our joys and our sorrows and our gratitudes with one another each week, either out loud. These forms are located on the kiosk as you come in. You can fill one out to be shared with everyone. We also share them just by bringing them into this space in our own heart and mind. While I'm reading our written joys and sorrows, if there is a joy or sorrow you'd like to light a candle for, please feel free to do so. They're on the sides of the sanctuary. Amy and Stephen Foster Wexler, who, before I read their joy and sorrow, can I just add my own joy to Amy and Stephen, who watched our dog Hobbs while I was on sabbatical for 2.5 months. That is a joy of mine. Thank you, Amy and Stephen. I will publicly thank you and your dog Lucy for that gift to us. But they say the flowers today are in remembrance and celebration of Amy's dad's life. He would have been 84 this week, in a celebration of Marley's 18th birthday as well. We welcome any healing vibes to flow towards Stephen's mom, who fell and broke her leg, now on her way to recovery, and to Amy's brother, who is contending with a fall from hearing loss due to a recurrence of a disease ongoing. Prayer for peace in this beautiful world. For all that, the joy and the sorrow woven together, Amy and Stephen. Chayla Sloper shares, it was a joy to join Steph and Nathan Jenkinson yesterday, help Danny move from Sun River to his new home in Redmond. Happy housewarming, Danny. Fantastic. Danny, you here this morning? No, he's not here. He's unpacking boxes, we can only assume. And Jill Stofers shares a gratitude for Chandra for gathering us for weekly meditation. Her care and generosity lift us all. I second that, Chandra. Your care and generosity lift us all. We're grateful for the meditation space this morning. And every Sunday morning, they meet at 9, not 9:30. They meet at 9. And I am the worst offender. There's a little sign you'll see that says, shh, meditation happening at 9. And I never remember that running around here in the morning. So my apologies to the meditation group. I'm sure you hear me every single morning. For all these joys and sorrows lifted up, which make the life of this congregation together, we gather together to hold them in love and support and in celebration.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about
Down to the River to Pray is an old African-American spiritual. Its origins are actually unknown. It's one of those songs that just arose from the experience of people. It shows up in a scene of the Coen Brothers movie from 2000, "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Who's seen this movie? Anybody seen this movie? Okay, if you haven't seen that movie, who's read The Odyssey by Homer? Okay, so between those two, maybe we know what we're talking about. The movie is based on Homer's The Odyssey, and it's set in rural Mississippi during the Great Depression, and it follows Ulysses, Delmar, and Pete. They're small-time crooks, and they have just escaped jail. And in the scene that this song is featured, we see them in the woods hiding out. I think they're eating some squirrel over a roasted fire. And all of a sudden, this music fills the air, this choir. It's beautiful. And they see this congregation of people slowly moving through the trees in white robes going toward the river. And so the three men follow them down to the riverbank where a preacher is receiving the people in the water and offering full water immersion baptism. And so one of the men, Delmar, sees this. And he jumps into the water excited and splashes out to the preacher and is dunked, is baptized, and comes back up. And Ulysses looks on skeptically. And Delmar makes his way out of the water. And he says, "Well, that's it, boys. I've been redeemed. The preacher washed away all my sins and transgressions. It's the straight and narrow from here on out. And heaven's my everlasting reward." Ulysses says, "Delmar, what the hell are you talking about? We've got bigger fish to fry because they're on the run." And Delmar says, "The preacher said my sins are washed away, including that Piggly Wiggly I knocked over in Yazoo." And Ulysses says, "I thought you said you were innocent of those charges." Delmar says, "Well, I was lying. And I'm proud to say that sin's been washed away too. Neither God nor man's got nothing on me now. Come on in, boys. The water's fine." The third man, Pete, joins Delmar in the water, but Ulysses remains unconvinced. The next scene, they're back in the car, and you can hear the dogs in the distance chasing them. And Pete, believing that all was set right in the world, is sullen. "But the preacher said it absolved us." Ulysses says, "Well, it absolved it for him, but not for the law. I'm surprised at you, Pete. I gave you credit for more brains than that." And Delmar says, "But there were witnesses. They saw us redeemed." And Ulysses says, "That's not the issue, Delmar. Even if you did put it square with the Lord, the state of Mississippi is a little bit more hard-nosed." Delmar had, we might say, unrealistic expectations of his faith. He was let down. He jumped into that water hoping for something out of that religious experience, and it didn't happen. He wanted that instant gratification religion, but the theology of that song points to the afterlife and the sins being washed away and heaven after one dies. So Delmar, from the beginning, was destined to be disappointed. He expected something unfair of that religion, of that experience that was not there. Which got me thinking, what is it that we as Unitarian Universalists can expect from our religious tradition? What are the things that we can expect to find here on a Sunday morning and throughout the week and over the years and the years? Well, we call ours a living tradition. And we expect that one of the things we will find is that it's not the same as it used to be, that it's evolving and changing over time as we are, as humans, evolving and changing over time, culturally, socially, and ethically. One of the things you can expect in a Unitarian Universalist congregation is difference of opinion, difference of belief. This runs through and through of who we are, and we would have it no other way. We're okay with this difference of opinion, and it goes right down to the heart of it. I wonder, as I read our opening words this morning, when I said, let us worship, I wonder if anybody thought to themselves, I don't like that word, worship. And some of you might have said, well, that's just a fine word. You might not even have noticed it. We debate whether we are a denomination, a single religious entity, or if we are an association of independent congregations given our polity. Are we a religion? Are we a movement? Is this a church? Is it a fellowship? Is it a congregation? Is it all three? Can it be one or the other or not? During my candidating week here, there was one member who was ardent and upset that I used the word church, and that's just fine. The word church doesn't resonate with him, and it does with me, so I don't use that word around this person, and that's just fine. That's being respectful. There are subjects that are always up for debate. In this congregation, in this religious faith, we are always turning to this conversation of, who are we? What is it we are doing together? We are a creedless religion. We have no creed that we say, here is what we believe, and if you are here and want to be amongst us, here is what you must believe. We are proudly a creedless tradition. Rather, we are covenantal. We are more interested in how it is we are together, the promises that we make one another, and how it is we move into the world and bring forth our ideas and promise of love. We can expect here to not be told what to believe, but to be provided an environment in which to explore, to look to one another, to be curious, to wonder, to see examples of what love can be in this world that we might never have imagined, but might be inspired by. We have different ideas of the universe, of our own personal theologies, of God or not God, religious paths that serve us in a specific way because of our life experience. And we look around and we wonder, and I'll invite you to have those conversations. What is it you believe? What drives you? What is your theology? And what a wonderful thing that you'll get a different answer for every single person in this room. What an opportunity lost to not be curious amongst one another. We have a specific way because of this non-creedal belief of gathering, this different way of doing religion than likely most of us were brought up in. Because of this creed, we turn, when we look to what it is we might believe together, because amongst all that diversity, it is nice to say what we agree upon. We turn to our bylaws. How lame does that sound? But there was really nowhere else to put it, I suppose. So we are a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association, which is an association made up of member congregations who voluntarily decide to be a part of this larger group, the Unitarian Universalist Association. And so in the bylaws of the association is where we find our purpose and our principles. This is a covenant between our congregations. In our purposes and principles, there is a part, section C 2.1 of Article 2, that puts forth our shared principles. And I'm going to invite Judy Trask up to read our principles, a dramatic reading by one Judy Trask of our principles.
Okay. Our reading is the 7 principles from the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association, first adopted in 1985, as well as proposed 8th principle. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience, and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part.
We go back on the slides. That's not, yeah, there you go. Just doing the boring Article 2 slide right now. So that, what Judy read, is what currently exists in the bylaws. And it is what we know as the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. And it's the closest analogy that we have to a shared agreement amongst our congregations. It is what we co-created together back in 1985. And every 15 years, as I said during the Time for All Ages, we intentionally have put into those bylaws that we need to look at these statements of unity to make sure that they still make sense for our shared expression of Unitarian Universalism in the world in which we live. Now, if you're wondering, well, what is 2.2? What is 2.3? What is 2.4? Those are our inspirations, our inclusion, and our statement of freedom of belief. But for our purposes this morning, we will just be dealing with Article 2C 2.1. There'll be a test after church on all of this. So first, let's back up just a little bit and how we got here. Unitarians and Universalists have both always been creedless faiths. So there has long been this idea of naming what we agree upon amongst all of our diversity, since it is not the role of the capital C Church to prescribe beliefs for the members of the church. The American Unitarian Association was incorporated in 1825, and in 1887, a statement of faith was written by William Channing Gannett for the meeting of the Western Unitarian Conference in Chicago, and it was not adopted unanimously, but only to a vote from 59 to 13. And I love it. It was called The Things Most Commonly Believed Today Among Us. And it sets forth they were historically liberal Christians at that point, so it's a lot of language about God and Jesus, though it was the Unitarian rational Jesus as teacher. And then in 1936, this book was written. It was the first commission of appraisal by the Unitarian Association in 1936. It's called Unitarians Face a New Age in this report. And in this book, they really ask the question, what are we doing? Who are we? And if we can't name it, should we even continue on? Luckily for us, they decided yes, we should. And they just put it like this. They made a list. Unitarians agree, and they listed these things. But then they put Unitarians don't agree, and they listed all these things. They thought that was a nice way to be inclusive of both sides. So then in 1961, they decided that when the Unitarians and the Universalists came together to join forces, so to speak, and create the Unitarian Universalist Association, bringing together the Unitarians who believed historically in one God, not the Trinitarian structure, and the Universalists who historically believed in universal salvation, a God of love. They came together, and at this point, both religious traditions were largely religious humanists during the 1900s. So they came together in 1961, and they did the same thing. So I have been waiting to share this for 12 years. I went to school at a Unitarian Universalist seminary, Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago. I was the last full, real residential class at that school. It's a beautiful campus down on the University of Chicago, at the time it was, and seminary education was changing. Meadville Lombard decided to change with it. A lot of distance education became the primary model, and so they sold the buildings, moved downtown Chicago to a different space, and they had to do something with 5 stories of library stuff, stacks, documents, all this historical stuff, and I love that kind of stuff. And so I rolled this up. This is an original poster from 1961 of the statements of purposes and the principles. So this is that first iteration of what we now call the 7 principles. And to strengthen one another in a free and disciplined search for truth in the foundation of our religious fellowship. Down here to the last one, to encourage cooperation with men of goodwill in every land. Well, it did not take the women too long before they said, that doesn't cut it. So, a handful of years later, and this is to prove that we've always been changing, they sent this document. You'll notice that the script is the same, and they had made some revised changes. For example, to that last one, it now reads, encourage cooperation amongst people of goodwill in every land. Nice change, early Unitarians. And you'll see here, I'm not going to pass this around because that seems like it might block views, but I'll pass this around because it's fascinating. You'll see here it says, and it's got all the different changes, different lines. So right here it says, to encourage the cooperation among people for goodwill. And right here it says, scissor and paste instructions for updating the illuminated scroll. So they sent this out to all the churches and said, just cut these out and then paste them on to this. And then we're all updated. So I'm going to pass that around because it's interesting to look at. But what a good example. Like we keep doing this. As we learn, as we grow, because when they wrote that, the people in the room thought, well, men means everybody, right? And people outside of the room said, I'm not sure it does. So these principles lasted for quite some time, 1961. In 1979, the president of the UUA, Reverend Eugene Pickett, he was referring to the problems facing the denomination, and he said his predecessor had just died less than 2 years in office. And Pickett said this of these principles. The deeper problem lies in our confusion as to what word we have to spread. The old watchwords of liberalism, freedom, reason, and tolerance, worthy though they may be, are simply not catching the imagination of the contemporary world. They describe a process for approaching the religious depths, but they testify to no intimate acquaintance with the depths themselves. If we are ever to speak to a new age, we must supplement our seeking with some profound religious findings. And so, in 1985, a large process of all this information gathering happened, and they created what we now know as the 7 principles. And those were continued to be revised as well. Amendments came and went throughout the years. One time they tried to change the first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of all people, to all beings. Those are folks who, my guess is a lot of vegetarians and vegans, who wanted the rights protected of all the beings. And it did not pass. Apparently there were a lot of carnivores at that vote that day. But one that did pass, so it used to be, we would say, men used to mean a catch-all for everybody. And then now we found prophetic words and deeds of men and women. We changed that to people because we realized that men and women is a binary way of thinking about gender, and there are many amongst us who do not believe in that binary or fit somewhere in between. And so we find ourselves here again at the end of one of these 15-year loops, in fact, well past. The Article 2 Study Commission convened for the first time in 2020, and work began of collecting, of listening, of thinking, of what is it that we need as a religious tradition that might update our principles. The conversation began in earnest at the General Assembly up in Portland at GA 2 years ago, and then in Pittsburgh last year it was debated. Finally, a version of Article 2 as amended was presented just this past week. Article 2, as it's been known, it passed a simple majority vote last year in Pittsburgh, which means it will go to a 2/3 majority vote at our General Assembly, which is our gathering of it's our national conference this coming year, which will be all online, which is kind of great, because that means the voting will be more equitable and spread out throughout our country instead of those who can travel. And so, This commission was charged with reviewing all the sections of Article 2. And the UA said to them this: "You are free to revise, replace, or restructure them as needed to meet the objectives stated above. There is nothing sacred about the number of principles or sources, nor their specific wordings, nor in the way that Article 2 is laid out. We encourage creativity, and the board would like to see an Article 2 that is inspirational, memorable, and poetic. The language should be inclusive and welcoming and explicitly anti-racist." And so this commission, coached and guided and with tons of input, created a new proposal, which is not taking over from the 7 principles. It still has to be voted on. But they created a new proposal of what Article 2 would be. And so I'll ask for a slide, and this is what they are proposing. Next one. All right. Next slide. And then this is a visual interpretation of what it is. Love at the center was what the Unitarian Universalist Board requested. Whatever it is you create, ground it in love. And the commission identified the themes of these 6 words during all of their discernment over all their information: interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. So let's just go through these, each one of what they are presenting. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation and through our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these are not tiered or there's no hierarchy. These shared values that are grounded in love are equity. And so they found a new structure. Equity, the main value, a sentence or two describing it, and then a covenantal statement, which is an action. Somebody noticed, we need more verbs in our principles. And so this is a response to that. Equity, we declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. Now you will notice as we go through these, they did not scrap the 7 principles, but rather drew upon them and tried to create something new that embodied them, but found new expression. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, our presence, and our resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. We covenant to cherish earth and all beings by creating and nurturing relationships of care and respect. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. Justice. We work to be diverse and multicultural, beloved communities where all can thrive. We covenant, then, to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. And pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. So what do we do with this? The UA board said, nothing is sacred about the number or the words? Can we find something? Challenge everything, it seems that they said. Challenge everything. I was going to rename this sermon and service simply, Huh. Huh. I think the word huh has tremendous power in it, because the word huh implies a question mark at the end. The word huh implies, I'm not sure what I think about that yet. The word huh implies, I've got some thinking to do about that. Huh might mean I'm not decided about that. Huh. I think there is integrity to be found in questioning and challenging ideas over time, in considering what it is we say we believe, and wondering about where it lands us. Perhaps at the end of this, a vote will be taken, and it will go down, and we will continue to have the 7 principles, because that's what the vote said at General Assembly. And I would say that is just fine. That is the will of the people. But there is great value in considering it nonetheless. Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. And the 19th century Unitarian theologian James Luther Adams said the unexamined faith is not worth having. And so this is exactly what we're going to do this year. We have a team, the Widening the Circle team, that is going to invite conversation and exploration about this new form. And I guess if there's an ask, it's to keep this as your disposition. Huh. Just keep it right there. There is no need to jump to the end, to a conclusion, but we have the space and time to gather around these ideas, this form, and to see how we feel about it, to see how it responds and resonates within us. And speaking of the results, the commission closed with these words, and do keep an eye out for the Widening the Circles. We're going to have maybe 4 different meetings on the second Sunday of the month after church to gather in a room and look at each of these, maybe in pairs. Look in your ACE. We'll have resources up on the website. Just get comfy with the people. We're not going to decide next week. The vote is not until the summer. And at the end of this, as a congregation, we'll have a conversation and say, how do we feel about this? Where are we in this? Not assuming that we will all agree, but trusting that we can have a conversation that has at its core maybe difference of opinion, need not be divisive. But the commission closed with these words: we recognize the fact that the proposed version of Article 2 we have presented is indeed a significant departure from our current vision, just as past changes to Article 2 were significant changes from their predecessors. The 1985 version, which first introduced the principles, was a radical change from the purposes and objectives of the previous version. We are continuing in the line of proposing changes that fit the times in which we live. We fully expect that one day another commission will review our work and significantly change it. We are not writing this in pencil, not etching it in stone. From the beginning, our goal was to listen to what Unitarian Universalists from all sectors of our faith communities felt and thought about the current Article 2 and what we should keep, what we should change, and what we should add. We knew we were not writing this for ourselves alone, but for our larger community. We also knew that we would never write something that everyone thought was perfect, so perfection was never the goal. We knew that no matter what we produced, there would be things people wished that we had added, things people did not like, and things people appreciated. What we tried, and what we think we succeeded in doing, was to create an Article 2 that articulated our faith today and perhaps in the near future. A rather wonkish sermon, don't you agree? Some days we come to cry, some days we come to laugh, some days we come to hear about bylaws. Article 2, Section C, 2.1. I was walking in this morning early, and someone had arrived early as well, and they said, "Oh, there's so much happening in the world today. I hope we talk about it." And I said, "Well, actually, not this morning. But what we are talking about is our religious tradition, our faith, what grounds us, because all that is happening in the world will be there. And so it is good for us to to do that internal work and as a community, to clarify what it is that sustains us. That song, Down to the River to Pray, has a lot of theology in it. Songs hold theology and meaning for religious communities, people who gather in the Spirit. Theology is found in music and in lyrics. One of our songs is Love Will Guide Us, and I truly have faith in that. If we invest in love and trust in love, love will guide us. The board said, we therefore charge this commission to root its work in love as a principal guide in its work, attending particularly to the ways that we and our root traditions have understood and articulated love, and how we have acted out of love. That is what we have been doing as Unitarians and Universalists and liberal religious people before those two terms even existed, for decades, for generations, for hundreds of years and hundreds of years. What is the expression of love that we gather around today? What is the expression of love that we can be together today? What can we expect of our religious community? It is love that we can expect. What that love looks like is up to us to discern. Love is the spirit of this fellowship. Here we can expect to love and to be loved. We can expect challenge and comfort. We can expect community. We can expect imperfection. Here we can expect a place to explore this mystery in which we live and move and have our being. Here we can expect love. But what that looks like, what it sounds like, what it reads like on paper, is always an ongoing discussion, a conversation that we live out with our very lives. May it be so.
If you could rise one last time in body or spirit, we are going to sing that song, Love Will Guide Us. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Join me as we say together the covenant of this fellowship. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I saw someone, as they stood up, stretch. I'll invite you to stretch before we leave. We go out into this day, this special particular day. Why is it special? Because it is today. And none of us, no one in this room is guaranteed a tomorrow. So is that not reason enough to incite us and inspire us to love on this day? Go forth with the love of this place and peace in your heart.